Fellas, based on what I've seen on Love is Blind, I gotta let y'all know, the women, they know about love bombing. They're on to us. I say that partially joking, partially as a nigga that was love bombing like the United States of America. Like I was saying, I'm doing this. My vision is to, like, not my favorite podcast. I have a lot of different. Do you guys want to know about all the podcasts I listen to? Email me or DM me and let me know. I'd love to do a podcast about podcasts, because I'm like 90% of the day, it's kind of fucked up. 90% of the day, there's something in my ear, either a podcast or music or white noise. I get very little silence intentionally. That makes it sound dark when I'm like, yeah, I can't, I'm afraid of being alone with my thoughts. Not that I'm afraid of being alone with my thoughts, but I like listening to stuff and not thinking. Sometimes I'll be listening. Y'all know sometimes you listen to an audiobook and then you like get lost in a couple thoughts, and then it's like 3 chapters later and you're like, yeah, it's like the same thing that happens when you're reading a book, except for it can kind of go on for longer with an audiobook, I feel like, because there's no like tactile page to turn to be like, hey, I should probably stop and think for a second. I'm talking about, yeah, what my vision for this is. My vision is basically the Bill Simmons podcast. If you know who that is, he's like a sports person who also does like cool cultural stuff, runs, founder, CEO, I guess, in charge of the Ringer network of entertainment podcasts that do. I'm not doing free promotion for them, but Bill Simmons, his podcast, he just decides what he wants to talk about and then brings on like experts in that subject. Now, often it's sports, but sometimes he's just like, I want to talk about TV, so we're going to bring in some like foremost TV journalists or things of that. So I have different things I want to talk about, and it'd be cool to be like, oh, I want to talk about music. So this week, you know, one of my favorite music journalists is going to come on, but I'm a long way away from that. And so right now it's just going to be what I like, and I know that sounds super basic, but it's gonna be what I like, and I hope you like it. What else do we got here on my notes? It felt like a good time to start because I did just move up to Seattle. Let's right here. Let me level with you. I'm gonna get like 75% vulnerable in this podcast. Like, I'm gonna get vulnerable, but my romantic life and information pertaining to my child, I think it's just gonna not be my jam. I don't it's kind of for the same reason or similar reason to why it's important to me to like have at least a foundation of the show that I can do by myself, is because me is tumultuous in terms of like relationships. I'm like the most consistent I've been ever now. I'm like 2 years sober. We can talk about that some other time, but you know, I've gotten my life together generally in the past couple years. I had a child, I went to rehab, I'm sober, all these other, you know, benchmarks that I'm maturing and all of that. But that being said, before that, a lot of the ventures that, you know, I had going before stopped ultimately because relationships with people fell out. And I don't know, I don't ever want, it sounds weird, but it doesn't sound that weird to want to keep like your art and your personal life separate. I think that's actually healthy. So yeah, you're not going to get the most deets, but I will talk about like, I did just move up to Seattle and and I don't know, I feel like moving is super hard. I think that's, no one will be surprised to hear that. But the part that's hard, and maybe it is talked about, maybe it's under-discussed. I don't listen to a lot of moving discourse usually, but the part that I guess I wasn't really anticipating is, you know, as I mentioned before, I spent a couple years like building a healthy life. You know, I've spent the past 2 to 3 years getting me together, which means getting a routine together, building a community, figuring out what habits are the healthiest for me, figuring out what I need to do every day for my mental health to be where it needs to be. And when you move, all that kind of just gets thrown into a washing machine and spun around, and you pull it out and it's a little damp, and you're like, well, this is I'm supposed to wear these pants right now. So you put on the damp pants, and right now I've got on damp pants. Just meaning that like things aren't easy right now. Like I don't have a routine. Like I'm forging one out that's coming into picture, but things, I'm just starting a podcast right now, you know what I mean? So whatever routine I had for like it's Sunday right now, for my Sunday has now been thrown into chaos because I want to do this, and that's not like a moving specific thing, but that's just an example of the way I haven't really got a break in terms of, because the friction you deal with on a daily basis really accumulates. At least I never really notice that, but like, you curate your life to be as like smooth as possible over time. What time you need to leave to go to stuff, where you need to park at places, how you can expect what your day is going to be like. You could expect what the emotional dispositions of the people you interact with are going to be like. You can anticipate what the people you'll interact with every day. So when none of that's consistent, like there's so many points of friction and points of like just points that are just harder than they need to be. Like I was a big ass city, bro. The worst part of my experience so far has been parking, dog. And like, I don't know, I think of myself as a patient person. We all think of ourselves as patient people until we get behind the wheel of a car. And there's been 2 or 3 situations where I was like, oh, let me pull up at this weed store. And then I see where the weed store is at, and I circle the block 2 times trying to find parking. And then I'm like, I'm going to a different weed store, like miles away. So there's been a lot of like friction, and I'm just, I haven't found my community. I haven't found the routine. And so I'm like, why not throw in another new thing? This part of my life is already very new and involving a lot of changes and different stuff. So, any other moving thoughts? Yeah, don't do it. If you can afford to have people do that shit for you, even if it puts you in a financial bind, even if you have to like put it on layaway, if you have to pay for movers over the next 2.5 years, it will be worth the stress you save by not moving your own shit, especially if you're up some stairs. Just I'm gonna drink some tea. So, yeah, in terms of the things I like that are happening right now, it's Love is Blind season. I think Love is Blind for me is the TV event of the year, no doubt. It is the event of the year because it happens, all in a month. I think if probably like all the other of the TV things I like were condensed into a month, those would also be as hype. For example, Love is Blind is perfectly intersecting Great British Bake Off season, which is also, that's top 5 for me right now in terms of TV watching. My TV diet, I don't like TV. I'm gonna be so for real. I'm not anti-TV and movies, but TV and movies don't really move me, like on average, or as like a medium. I'm not like that excited by the newest movie or TV show necessarily. I think the last thing this year I've seen movie wise, I saw Friendship, the Tim Robinson movie, and I saw Sinners, which is Sinners. You couldn't not see Sinners as a black person. I felt the social pressure was at an all-time high. I already missed out on Friday and the Boondocks. So I can't miss out on any more canon. And I went and saw Friendship because one of my good friends from work, asked me, and I was like, yeah, for sure. And that was great. I can't believe they're still doing comedy movies. What were we talking about? television. So I'm not that moved by television. I find myself more enticed by reality TV than your big prestige TV television shows. Mostly because the biggest shows have been letting me down recently. The last 3 shows, maybe this isn't totally true, but in my memory, the last 3 shows where I was like, okay, new season, I'm fucking excited, let's do this, were The Bear, the latest season of House of the Dragon, and the latest season of The Last of Us. And to me, all 3 of those latest seasons sucked. For the HBO shows, it was like a 2-year wait that was full of nothing but like hype and anticipation. After I thought both shows had fantastic seasons, fantastic seasons coming into those. And then the thing about TV shows, man, is like I could smell the Last of Us was gonna be some dirt by like episode 3 or 4. Spoiler alert. Once they killed Pedro, it was like, boy, oh boy, you guys are miscalculating how much you think Bella Ramsey can carry a show. It was, I don't think it was a hot take, but that wasn't good. And like I said, this thing about TV is you smell it season, like episode 4, you gotta watch like 7 more hours just because you were like, maybe let's see how they turn it. Well, and then it's like season, by like the 3rd to last episode, I'm like, this show is bad. But it's the sunk cost thing where you're like, well, I guess I'm gonna watch 3 more episodes of Bella Ramsey playing the guitar for some reason. She played the guitar way too much in that show. It's the guitar. It was a guitar-based, like the zombies to guitar ratio in the latest season of The Last of Us is crazy. You would maybe get zombies every episode. There were definitely episodes without zombies. I don't know if there was an episode where like someone didn't even like at least like rub their hand longingly on like a dusty guitar. In the latest season, I didn't even finish the latest season of The Bear, man. That show been dragging its ass for like since season 2, man. Season 2 was hot. I don't know if people want to hear my TV takes, but I say like 3 minutes into them. But yeah, it was some big doo-doo. None of the characters made any progress for about a year. The only drama was like, a restaurant is hard to run. And it's like, yeah, bro, like that's for sure. That's not really an interesting take, I guess. I've worked food service my whole kitchen career. So like there were some people who are like, I guess I've heard that some people were like, I can't watch The Bear because it's too stressful. For me, by the end, it's like, I can't watch The Bear because like I go to a boring kitchen most of the week. I don't need to see other people in a boring kitchen. Sometimes my last job was better than The Bear in terms of vibes. So why am I going to turn and watch a sadder kitchen? What are we talking about? Love is Blind. So Love is Blind. Oh, no. I have to finish. So Bake Off is back. No, Love is Blind is back. Bake Off is back. Open up Netflix, and the next thing you see is, this past week I open up Netflix. What do I see but the latest season? Or maybe not the latest season. They're just doing a special. But are y'all watching Is It Cake? Are people watching Is It Cake? Is It Cake is electric. I just saw A$AP Rocky talking about how fire Is It Cake was. Y'all gotta tap in because it sounds simple. You're like, people are baking cakes and you gotta figure out whether or not it's like a shoe or a cake. And it sounds easy and it don't sound entertaining, but something in the stew. Something they're putting in that stew, man. I love Is It Cake, bro. And so I'm in TV Nirvana right now because those are pretty much the Mount Rushmore of shows. I can't think of another show that I'm like, instant watch, like Love is Blind, Great British Bake Off, and Is It Cake. Okay. Oh, American Barbecue Showdown on Netflix. up there too. If it's a cooking adjacent reality show on Netflix, I've seen it and I love it. Probably. I don't want a show for Netflix, but whoever is in charge of the cooking department, the cooking shows department, masterful work year after year after year. They dropped Love Is Blind. We were already in the middle of Next Gen Chef, which is some show about just a bunch of it's just a cooking show, and they add titles to it. They're like the next hottest bacon that's not what they do, but every show just makes up a title and an award, and it's like all these chefs, it's like they've been dreaming their whole life to win this contest we just invented 6 months ago, and that's how they treat it, and every time I'm locked in. So back to Love Is Blind. All that to say, Love Is Blind, not a cooking show, technically, though food is consumed. I think it would be safe to say food is consumed. Love Is Blind, for y'all who aren't tapped in, is a dating reality show, man, where you can't see each other when you date each other. It sounds funny. It is funny. Every year, so you got to date each other, right? And then at day 10, people got to start proposing to a wall and just a voice, just a disconnected voice. And then only once the couple has agreed to be married can they see each other. And the show is trying to prove that love is blind, and love is not all about physical attraction and the visual, but that emotional connection and intelligence matter just as much. And it's great because every year they fail to prove that. Every year they prove love is very blind. Love is not just blind. Love has whatever Helen Keller has, okay? Because these people, they talk to people will, like, they have to just like have, I guess, like 10 hour-long conversation dates, and then they like get married, they like, propose, whatever. And then, and always, without fail, every season there will be a couple who, like, once they get out of the pods, that's what they call them, the pods, once they get out of the pods, they have like an immediate disagreement about something that is, you would think you would have talked about day 1, hour 1, or at least hour 7. This season there's a couple that's like disagreeing. The girl's like mad that the guy isn't richer, and it's like, I'm not mad at shorty, but if you need a rich nigga, that's gotta be day 1 question. Like, why like, why are you if you have a budget, you need to like communicate that instantly. And so you never feel bad for the people. Maybe once a season there will be a sympathetic character. It depends. This season so far is one of the least sympathetic seasons of all time, and that's saying something for a love-based reality show in 2025. But I would say I'm definitely not rooting for any of the couples. I'm maybe rooting for like one person to not get married to the other person, because I think that I'll say maybe 2 people. So one of the guys who you want to respect, I think his name is Zach. It might not be. He seems like a Zach, but he has a kid, and he's doing and saying and approaching it like the kid isn't on camera at all, and he was very forthcoming about it, and he's doing like everything that would make you think that like this is a responsible parent, right? He talks the talk, and from what you can see on the show, he approaches, being on a dating reality show while having a kid with the utmost caution. That being said, the idea that you're going to marry a lady after 4 weeks and then that's just your kid's mom, like, bro, you're not a good dad. Like, I think he seems really cool. Like, he seems like the dude I'd most get along with, but at the same time, you're like, bro, go. I don't know. And the other sympathetic person, is this black girl named KB. It is so funny to me. Every season, like, they'll have like a huge crop of potential contestants, and I wouldn't say it's diverse, but it's like diverse for, like, they're in, where are they? They're in Denver this year. The crop of people they had was like a representative sample, probably, of the racial demographics in Denver. So often the show is in cities like that, and thus skews white, which is whatever. I'd rather see white people emotionally damage each other than people of color. But it's so funny to me because every season, this, like, no matter how many white or black people there are, even if there's there's just two black people, they always end up together. They all, like, you'll get a couple interracial couples, but almost always there's just black couple, and it's like you can't even see each other, right? So I need someone with more of an understanding of, like, romantic and racial psychology to break that down, because I don't understand it. It's funny to me because I went to a private school, and for a while there was a lot of, I was like the only black kid in my grade. No, there was like, I was the only black boy, air quotes, in my grade. I do the air quotes because I identify as non-binary. I just didn't want to air quote y'all and you didn't know. But at the time, boy, I was the only boy in my grade. This is a tangent, but I was the only boy in my grade until third grade. This other little black kid named Amir joined our school in our grade, and they put him in my class, which seemed like a good idea. But we had this old ass teacher named Miss King, Lisa King. No idea if she's alive, honestly. Thinking about it, she was old then. Maybe rest in peace her. Maybe we smoking on her pack. I can't decide, because I remember really liking her as a teacher, right? I remember she was really sweet. And the story I'm about to tell to you didn't really ever register with me until I became an adult, and I thought about it again, and I was like, oh, that was... So basically, Amir joins our grade. We're the only two black boys in our grade, in our class. And again, I don't know why they gave the oldest white teacher they had the only two black boys. But she never once... There was only two of us. She never once called us the correct name. She almost exclusively called me Amir, and she almost exclusively called Amir my name, at a ratio that was like, because she would correct herself, so you'd think she was trying, but she called us, like, if she would have just, like, guessed every time, she would have got it correct more than she did. So it's hard to understand how she could get it as incorrect as she did, as frequently as she did. So I guess she felt bad at some point that she was just microaggressioning day after day her students, because one day I came into class and she called me Amir, and she was like, oh, sorry, and said, I mean Christian. That's my other name. I mean Christian. And before I could, like, even react, she, like, tossed me a piece of candy, which was, again, at the time, I was like, hell yeah, man. I get free candy now. Being black is awesome. But like I said, I got older, and I was like, crazy that instead of switching up and, like, learning our names, she was like, I hope these niggas like Skittles, because 2 is too many. I cannot, that was a tangent. I can never get that to work as a joke. It's one of those things where it's so, maybe it's not crazy, but that's crazy to me. Anyway, yeah, that tangent was on the way to, there was one black girl in our grade. I'm not going to say her name because that would be weird, but it's so funny because people started, and we were like acquaintances, you know what I mean? Like our parents clearly wanted us to be friends because they like formed a connection being the only like black parents. But we were both, we were just kids, so we just never really, I don't even know if we were ever in the same class or whatever. But in like 6th or 7th grade, when everyone started, pairing up and coupling off, the pressure got to me, and I was like, oh, what do I do? And one day I just like saw her, and I was like, this is what I do. That's not the good way to put it, but it just like clicked in my brain that like, I don't know. So I just walked up to her in study hall, apropos of nothing. We don't really talk. I walked up to her one day and I was just like, hey, do you want to go out with me? And she said, yeah. And then I never spoke to her again. I don't know if I still have. I do know that means we're still dating. But yeah, so that's what Love is Blind is giving. And I understand how they arrive. I don't know. Just something about being the only black people at a place. You're like, I don't know. We got to figure it out, shorty. Like if we both split off, then the race is over. You know what I mean? Like we got. I don't co-sign that. That won't make it to the stage. I like another thing that interesting about this season of Love is Blind is in like the dating portion, women are fellas. Let me start like this, fellas. Based on what I've seen on Love is Blind, I gotta let y'all know, the women, they know about love bombing. They're on to us. I say that partially joking, partially as a nigga that was love bombing like the United States of America in my 20s. I'm 29. But yeah, in my mind, I didn't realize what I was doing, right? Like in my head, so what you need to understand is anytime I was dating someone, or anytime I was interested in someone, I would probably tell them I loved them within like a month. Just because, I don't know, I don't want to say I'm a hopeless romantic. No, in my head, I don't think I had an idea what love is. I think I have concepts of an idea of what love is. That's a whole nother episode. Y'all should go read All About Love by Bell Hooks, because that gave me the best articulation that resonates with me about what love is. But yeah, at that point in my 20s, just like being in a new city, coming from like a kind of strict upbringing, just kind of slutting it out, I was like, I feel such strong emotions about you. This is how, falling or just being in a relationship or even having sex works when you're like doing it for some of the first times. The emotions are very strong. And so for me, I was just like, wow, I feel like an overwhelming amount of feelings about someone. That must be love. Someone to tell them I love them. I won't lie. There was definitely a point where I started to gain a level of consciousness about it, where I was like, this is a gamble, but if it works, she's locked down. Like, I'd say it's probably, if you're in your 20s and you're doing it to 20-year-old women, I'd say 3 and 4 times you're locking them up for at least a month until one of their friends could talk to some sense into them. And 1 in 4 already have a good head on their shoulders, and they're like, what are you talking about? You're nuts. And, they leave. But those are decent numbers. So I don't do that anymore. I really did think it was like a nice quality about myself that I would just tell women I love them very quickly in order to really sink my fangs into them. It's not who I am anymore. But just know, fellas, they're on to us. They're talking about it. The jig is up. We're going to have to go back to negging, or I don't know. I think some of them still, it'll still work. Like, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying, having consciousness of, the way a nigga can operate doesn't mean you're immune to it. Ladies, come on now. Okay, let's hit some tea. As you know or may not know, I'm a stand-up comedian, so in the past 2 weeks, I don't know how much this broke contain of like the stand-up comedy and stand-up comedy fans universe and space, but the Riyadh Comedy Festival in Saudi Arabia was the talk of the industry over the past 2 weeks. A bunch of really famous comedians shilled out. There's the discourse around it's been tough, right? Because I would just say I can't. A lot of people who don't have. I will only speak for myself. It is hard for me to feel justified being like poo-pooing someone doing something when I haven't been offered that much money. This is not me saying I would do it, but this is also me saying, like, I don't know what it's like when someone puts $500,000 in my face. I might act in a way I find morally detestable. I'm not saying I would have done the comedy festival. I'm just saying it would feel disingenuous for me personally to be like, I would never do that. Is it disappointing that certain people did? Honestly, these niggas is not my heroes. Like, I like Bill Burr as a comedian. Dave Chappelle is obviously a great comedian. I don't look at either of them as like, pillars of morality or people I look to for guidance when it comes to, social issues or raising my level of consciousness. So, yeah, it was a discourse. But what was interesting to me, it was like one of the comedians I was on the festival is Aziz Ansari, and I just hadn't really seen Aziz's name anywhere in a minute. It coincided with, I think I've seen the trailer maybe once or twice, but there's a new, I believe, Seth Rogen movie. It's that universe of comedy dudes, and Aziz is playing a role in it. So he's just been kind of in the media mix for the first time in a couple of years since the Me Too cancellation that I think societally, I'm not going to say, my feeling of that situation, if you don't know, I'm not going to, it's Aziz and a woman had what to her was an inappropriate and non-consensual, weird sexual encounter, and it was during the kind of the height of Me Too, and it kind of cost Aziz not everything, but it certainly derailed his career in a way, where it's probably close to, is it 10 years later? It's been a long time, and he's just now back in like mainstream kind of projects. I think he had a special probably like 2 or 3 years after that, but it's kind of been radio silence from him since then. And my feeling on it was like the woman who wrote the piece had every right to share her experience, and also it felt like culturally he got lumped in with some people he shouldn't have been lumped in with. And I think I think the part that lost him the most juice was he was angled or presented as this expert in modern dating and the king of the apps. I don't know if anyone ever said that, but it was given king of the apps because it's back when all this stuff was new, and people were like, "Ooh, dating on." Remember when we didn't hate dating online? Remember when dating online was a new and novel concept? And yeah, so it was just hard from like an image and branding perspective to be like the king of the apps and the king of modern dating and at the forefront of romance. And then also be this guy who's just, you know, say what you will, at a bare minimum, really weird and inappropriate alone with women. So as much as, like, a lot of people who have been quote unquote canceled during that time, like Louis still selling out, you know, MSG and stuff. So from just the comedy, like, he probably could have been back just doing comedy, but I think it kind of got exposed that his stand-up was a lot of charisma and people respecting him as like this really intelligent person when it comes to emotions and stuff. So like he kind of lost the veneer of charm. I don't know. He just kind of lost all of his, you know. Anyway, I was thinking about it. So this is I don't have like a conclusion or like this isn't to make a point, right? This isn't to this isn't just asking questions. This is just like a thing I noticed when I started to think about it, because like Aziz, and after Aziz you had Hasan Minhaj, both the most I think I don't want to, anyways, just the two most prominent brown male comedians of the past decade, 15 years, and they both are dramatically different people. I want to make that clear, and we're in dramatically different situations, but it is interesting, I noticed, worth chewing on even, that you had these two comedians from a specific minority community who kind of reached heights that, you know, people that look like them had never reached before in terms of like success and cultural relevance. And then you had both of them kind of had, you know, with Hasan, there was the Atlantic story or whatever about the woman who basically went and fact checked his stand up and proved that he lied about some things. And all in all, if you are tapped in with that, it kind of costs him the job as being the host of The Daily Show, and definitely was, at least for a moment, a big impact on his credibility, and I'm sure a big impact on his bank account. Yeah, again, I don't know. I think like I said, it's two very unsimilar situations. I mean, there's similarities, but it's two different situations. In that, like with the Aziz situation, I'm like, the woman had every right to do what she did. I don't really have a problem with that. And with the Hasan situation, I think the woman is a big loser and needs to get a hobby. Do I say that as a comedian who's definitely lied on stage for humor? Yeah, of course, I'm biased. Yeah, of course I'm going to say fuck that lady. Whatever. But I don't know, it's just striking to me when you notice like both of these successful brown comedians, the most, you know, at the, you know, the whatever you want to say about them, just both being kind of, you know, not taken down, but having these, you know, white institutions, these liberal white institutions, shock. And it's so funny, that's the liberal institutions too, but liberal white, God, liberals, these liberal white institutions kind of were responsible for like not defaming them is definitely incorrect, but I don't know, writing, posting, publishing, really not damning, but just like damaging information that you wonder, like, could this have been handled in a way that didn't involve like a tremendous amount of media attention and scrutiny for these people from marginalized communities? It's odd. I just think it's worth. I just wanted to say it because someone's got to stand up for brown people. And it will only be brown people, apparently. We're going to move on. We're drinking some more tea. Damn, y'all. I was like, do I have enough to do an hour? I only have like 3 or 4 topics, but we're in 44 minutes, and I still got like at least 2 topics. Shit. So I put out on my Instagram story a post. I do it frequently where I'm like, hey, people who follow me, send me whatever music you're enjoying right now. And this person, she has to go send me this artist, and they were like, oh, really rocking with this person, check it out. And I try and go like add, like when people send me stuff musically, like I'm adding it 100 times. Can't promise I'll listen to it, but I will put it in my library, so next time I'm like, I need an album, I have a bunch of new ones that I can just dive into, because I prefer like personal recommendations. I'm trying to bring that back. Fuck fucking algorithm. Anyway, I got this song, this person sent it, and I don't even know if I don't even think I listened to it. I just saw the cover, and the cover was like a black and white photo, like a black and white, like photorealistic looking picture of like a black man with dreadlocks. And just from the photo alone, I'm like, that's not how niggas look. And then so I went to the description of the artist, and it said, this nigga, it was some sort of project by some Norwegian based music producer using the power of blah 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 software and artificial intelligence. And I was like, damn. So, and this person, I could check, they had hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners. I think I listened to one song. I don't even think I listened to any of the songs. I can't go. But it was like reggae, right? It was like a white guy in Norway using AI to make reggae, which is we're in, that's like episode of like Atlanta or like the Twilight Zone level buffoonery, caucasity, whatever may have you. So I replied to the person. I was like, yo, dog, this is AI. And they were like, oh, no, shit, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I was judging them. I was for sure judging them. And then they sent me another artist like, is this person AI? And I was like, friend, you gotta. And they were. And this other artist that was AI that they sent me had like millions of monthly listeners. So like, I don't know. I just didn't know we were, because obviously, I don't know, there was a AI band that went viral a couple months ago, and people got like up in arms about it, and I clicked on like the link. I was like, yep, the AI band, that's crazy. And I thought it was just like that one, and there's like an AI gospel singer right now that I think has like broken some sort of records, or is like signed to a major label. And there's just this, like, people are listening to AI music is what I'm saying. Like, the genie's out of the lamp. Like, it is, it's not even like a thing, because I make music. It's not even a thing of like it is a thing of like, fuck, like, the millions of streams these AI artists have are taking away millions of streams that humans could have. It's just like, it's scary to think about a world where all of the things that we enjoy are like, all the things we enjoy are like hollow in that way. I think I have complicated feelings about AI when it comes to art, because I do think there's a level of we are all scared of a new thing, right? I think that's a percentage. I'm not saying we're all hunky-dory, AI's chill, there's nothing to worry about, but I like thinking back, I like the example of like when they dropped the printing press, it was like either Plato or Socrates, one of the famous philosophers was like, reading is going to destroy people's minds. Like there was a point in society where the thought leaders of the time thought that reading was going to destroy society. So I just think it's always helpful to keep that in mind, and to keep in mind that throughout history, people have always thought it was the end of the world. Like that's also a constant, and all that hold in mind. And also like, like it is the end of the world. Like it is the end of art. But no, I think there will be, and there are ways to use AI musically and artistically that are using the technology to, like, I don't know, assist with what humans do in like a genuine way. Like I always think about sampling in music. Like if you showed someone 100 years ago like an MPC sampler where you could just like press buttons and like entire produced sounds would come out, they'd be like, hey man, that's cheating. That's not music. So I don't want to say like nothing you do with AI can ever be perceived of or valuable as art. My favorite two examples are BBL Drizzy, the BBL Drizzy beat, the BBL, like the vocals and the sample, I guess, is AI. And on, I think it's the latest JPEG Mafia. I don't know if he's put out another one since Veteran, but on Veteran, what is the name of the song? Either On or Off the Drugs. He uses an AI music. It's like a soul singer singing a Future song, and then he samples that, and it's the best beat from last year. It's so good, and I find it to be brilliant. Like it's brilliant using the new technology in that way. So I don't want to just say fuck it, there's no way to use AI in a way that I find cool, but just like slopping out least common denominator music so you could build up a catalog that will just, give you infinite revenue because you're putting it out like infinite lo-fi / jazz, so like any genre that someone would just put onto a playlist and not necessarily notice if it was AI or not, right? Like I had judgment for that person for like a moment, but then I'm like, I listen to Spotify, I just listen to random lo-fi jazz playlists a lot. I'm sure someone's throwing some AI slop on there, and I've been like, jam. So it's just, there's nothing to communicate but angst, and I hope I've communicated that well. But yeah, AI music is here, and I think every week I'm going to try and talk about what I'm listening to right now. What's in rotation musically. Music is a huge part of my life. It's my love language. It is, the way I said I don't be gassed for TV and movies, I do be gassed about music. I'm always down to talk about music. I'm always listening to music, like I've said. So I'm just going to spill about what I've been into. I just opened my on repeat playlist and yapped to you guys about it. This week I've been heavily invested in the 1975. If y'all don't know, 1975 is probably my favorite active band. Fall Out Boy, the greatest band of all time to me. There's some other good ones, but in terms of bands still putting out music, I find what the 1975 does to be extremely compelling. And I have since I saw them perform at a music festival in 2014-15. So really for like a decade, I've been tapped in. And their latest album is the best one for sure. it's not new at all. So I'm saying it's in my rotation. It is at least probably close to a year old, and I always find it fascinating, like the art that I like end up loving the most and that resonates with me the most. Like frequently, I find that initially I'm kind of cold on it, or like I don't know. It often takes like 2 or 3 listens for something that's like generational for me to really click. And this was an example. When this album came out, I think this also it had working against it that this was produced by Jack Antonoff, and I let my Jack Antonoff hate get the best of me. I think when I listened to this album the first time, Jack Antonoff, man, he's so good sometimes, and then sometimes you get the goddamn Lord, Solar Power or Claro. I don't even remember the Claro album. So I've actually revised my take on Jack Antonoff, because I used to be like, man, he is absolutely nerfing some of my favorite artists. But then, I don't know, I love Fun, his band with Nate Rusin, a third person, hits such the stretch of songs that is Carry On, or I think it goes Some Nights into We Are Young into Carry On as a 3-song run, untouched. There is not a definitively better 3-song run in maybe all of music to me. The beginning of California Girls or Teenage Dream by Katy Perry is pretty tough too. You have like California Girls, TGIF, and it doesn't matter. But now there's a lot of tough ones. Michael Jackson, Thriller, probably pick any 3 songs on there. Probably better. Anyway, modern music. I love Fun. I really love this 1975, their latest album with him. And because of that, because Fun, I liked more than a decade ago. This 1975 album's like 2 years ago. And so many undisputable hits. And between that I got it couldn't have been him fucking up the Lord and Claro. There's probably one more, but the Lord and Claro albums, sometimes an artist is just trying to put out a bad album, you know what I mean? I'm not gonna blame the producer. I doubt he was in there like, hey, Claro, I know you sound great on a synth, but what if it was just acoustic guitar in a cabin with a microphone across the room for 40 minutes? You think that would be a fun pivot from the veteran pop guy going? So anyway, I'm really enjoying the latest 1975 album. Damn, I didn't even go to the rest of my on repeat. The new Hayley Williams album I've really been fucking with too. Ego Death at a Bachelorette Party. There's a really solid 3-song run in there too. I think I'm done with songs there's been 2. There's one on this Hayley Williams album, and there was this one on the Chance the Rapper album. I don't need a song. Like, it doesn't matter how good of how well of a or how I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how scathing of a critique you have of the Christian church in America. I'm not trying to hear that on a song. Like, you could absolutely strip and spank the ass of the Christian church over the hardest beat I've ever heard with like potent lyricism and whatever, and I just don't care. Like, I think that's why the newest JID album wasn't my favorite. Like, I grew up religious. I'm not religious now. The church is bad. Like, you're not. There's no amount of church criticism that's gonna move me. I'm also, it's a real spattering of songs. Also, my on repeat, there's still a lot of the Clips album. Gonna go down as album of the year unless Steve Lacy has something to say about it. I think he's at the end of next month. I want to do one more topic and then I'm going to out of here. I had more written down, but you can hear me fading. One more tea. Would you rather be hot or rich, right? Like, would you rather be objectively hot, like a no matter where you go, you're a 10 there. I don't know. It's hard to be objectively hot, right? But let's just say, no matter where you go, people perceive you as a 10. Would you rather that, or you never have less than $100,000, right? Because you think money, right? You'd think the money, but money can't buy you pretty. And I don't, this is a vapid conversation, whatever. But I don't think money can buy you pretty. Money can definitely, I think money, best case scenario, money can bump you up like 4 points on the scale. 3 to 4 points. I think if you are, once you get 3 or 4 points, that makes it 7. Whatever. It could bump you up. I'd say money can make a 7, a 9, or a 10. It's hard. This is... I'm like low-key doing math, too. I'm like, so a 7 with $75,000. I just think money no buy pretty buy money. I think pretty can buy money, but it's not a direct, it's not easy, right? Like if you're a 10, you gotta find a nigga or you gotta, I guess you could just model, but that, like, I guess this illustrates how, like, I don't know if this is like predatory. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing for society. It's probably a good thing. That would be pretty doesn't automatically guarantee you wealth. I don't know. I guess I was reading Reddit yesterday and I saw just a post where the person's like, there is nothing more important in this world than being attractive, and like the top comment was like being rich is more important. And then people were arguing back and forth, and I'm like, I don't know. I think like I am not rich, right? But I'm good looking. Let's just sit with it. Okay? I think I would say good looking because I have an aspirational mindset. I'm like, I'm good looking and I could be rich. But what is my point? I don't know. I shouldn't have said I think I'm attractive. I'm having a vulnerability hangover. And it's not like vulnerable to be like, I think I'm I don't. Just please get in the comments or whatever and let me know if you'd rather be rich or pretty. Okay? I want to get some interactions going on. Is this like I said, I don't know what I didn't say I don't know what the show is going to be. I have a vision for the show. I don't know what it's going to be, though. I'm going to test drive a lot of different segment ideas. And this segment idea is just asking a question in hopes that the chat lights me up. Or, because that's the age we live in, right? We live in the rage bait, the age of rage bait. So why on every episode I give you a little rage bait? I'm Creme Brulee. You can find me on every social media platform at Creme Brulee 2D. I don't have anything else to promote right now. I love you, and thanks for listening to my first podcast.
Yeah, you can like or you can hate. Yeah, it's Creme fucking Brulee. Yeah, you can like or you can wait. Yeah, it's Creme fucking Brulee. I'm with your baby.